Hey guys, welcome back to Just a Geek in the Garage, and it's that time of year again. Black Friday sale is right around the corner. It's going to start on Monday, November 4th for all the ITC members, and then for everyone else starting on the 27th online, and then 28th through December 1st in store. And as I kind of typically do around time when we have either a parking lot sale or these type of sales, is I'm going to kind of do a let's get ready for it. Show you a few things on here that I like. Show you the ones that I actually own and have used and can actually give you an opinion on, and kind of go from there. So I'm going to kind of start off here on this first page, obviously. And most of the stuff here in the very top in the yellow, as I've said on my other videos, whenever it comes to these sales, usually whatever you see in these yellow sections, whether it's the top or the bottom, are kind of they're sales that happen pretty much almost every single weekend, and a lot of the stuff they end up giving away for free. The hats, the tarps, the microfiber cloths, all these zip ties, stuff like that. Almost every month they're giving one of these things away for free, and that's usually when I pick those things up. Or if I really need something, they're always on sale. So this isn't something I would jump on for just for Black Friday. Basically, I'm going to look for things that are actually a good deal, at least what are in my opinion. Having said that, before I continue on with this, one caveat I always say about Harbor Freight sales is anything that's $20 or under, like this guy right here, the regular price, if it's $19.99 or below, unless I'm seeing at least 30% off here, usually it doesn't kind of, pique my interest at all, because Harbor Freight constantly does sales, 30% off of items 20 or below. And so usually I'll pick items up that are below 20 at that time. So for these type of sales, I'm looking usually for things that are either significantly more than 30% off, or something that's usually going to be more expensive that doesn't apply to those sales. So let's actually start off with this guy right here. So we have this professional pick set from Icon. This thing's actually great. I've had this thing for quite a while, well over a year now, and I have been using it. It's actually here. Let's kind of go over to my toolbox, and I'll show you things as we're talking about them. So excuse the cameras here, but you have the pick set right here. I do like to keep my tools clean. I keep them in the packaging, but I do definitely use these tools. And I like the handle. I mean, it's definitely not as nice maybe as the Snap-on handles, but for $10 versus Snap-on's going to charge you about $70 for the similar kind of set. I think this thing is definitely a pickup. So if you guys can find these, for the sale, I say definitely, go for it. Next up, we're going to be looking at the 40% off of Icon ratchets. And this, obviously, I think is going to be the biggest deal of the sale. And these things are probably, if you're not there on Monday the 24th, I have a feeling that the majority of them are going to be sold out, especially when it comes to the G2 ratchet. So let's kind of take a look at that real quick and see kind of what I'm talking about. So I have, a decent amount of the Gen 1 ratchets. These are the half-inch, the flex, the comfort grip, and then just the kind of standard chrome one right here. And then below that I have the same copy of the 3/8. Got the 1/4-inch flex head, got the regular 1/4-inch right here. But I only have a couple of the Gen 2. This was their long 3/8 flex head right here, and then their long 1/4-inch flex head. These things I've been playing around with, and I actually really do like these. This is my first flex head that has a locking position. And if you guys have seen videos about these ones before, the nice thing about them is basically the head of the ratchet is very similar to the dual 80s from Snap-on, which I think some of the parts are even interchangeable if you watch some of these videos. So the top part I really like because of that, because the dual 80s were some of my favorite ratchets. But they actually, I think it's Maddox that they borrowed this from, their flex head that is lockable. And I really like that because I do have a few flex heads, and even in Snap-on. And every once in a while, when you're using a flex head, you're trying to keep it in a position, and if you can't lock it, it just kind of gets floppy on you. So these are definitely ratchets I would look at. So I would, run for the Gen 2 ratchets if you guys can get them. I'm going to basically be looking at probably the long version of the 3/8 and the 1/4-inch in the fixed head, not the flex head, with the comfort grip. I do like their new comfort grip versus their old one that they have right here. So that I think we're gonna see go very, very fast. And even right now, when you kind of go into the store, there's not a whole lot of stock, at least the stores that I have seen on the G2s anyways. They kind of trickle in and they sell out as fast as they come in, especially those flex heads that I showed you, and that's one of the reasons why I picked those up. Next up, Daytona jacks. I'll go over right here. This is my Daytona jack right there. I actually really like this thing. I had the Pittsburgh jack before, the 3-ton, and I really like that one. Honestly, I only upgraded because it was green. So a bit superficial, but it matches the rest of the garage, so I figured why not. You know, the 30% off is a decent deal. However, usually I wait until the Daytonas, especially the 3-ton low profile, hits the $99 mark, which I believe they have the Pittsburgh one, if I'm not mistaken, on the next page for that price. Next up, Apache cases. I'm not really big on them. I've bought them before. I don't really have that much of a use case for them, but if you guys are looking for them, 30% off, pretty good deal. 50% off of Hardy gloves. You know, I used to use these gloves constantly. I switched to a different glove that I found on Amazon, but they're still good gloves, but a lot of times you can get them at 50% off. And then kind of going down the line, if you've noticed, I'm shooting this right here, actually out of my 5-drawer cart. Mine happens to be the older one. This is the Gen 2, I believe, of this, where now they're selling the Gen 3 of these guys. And really the main difference is that the Gen 3 has the slides on the bottom to lock in versus just the one kind of button that it had on the old ones. And they come blacked out. If you notice, mine is blacked out, but I bought that trim kit that they had when it was on clearance. But if you notice, this is still silver. You know, the chrome right here is still silver, things like that, where on the new ones, all that's blacked out, which I think looks really good. $199 is a solid price. They're normally $280. They will drop to $179, you know, on occasion throughout the year. That's when I bought mine, is when it was at $179. And if you guys are willing to wait, you can save another, you know, $20. But if something that you need right now, again, sub 200 is going to be a pretty good price for that. We talked about the bottom section right here, so I'm not going to go over that again. And same thing, we're going to go to the inside page here. And excuse kind of the movement and the noise. Up here, you know, again, decent deals, nothing that I would write home about. This creeper is actually a very nice creeper. I actually have it hiding, if you guys can see, right over there. But I think a lot of times it'll go on sale for 50% off and drop all the way down to $19.99. That's when I would purchase it. You got these cutoff wheels. I buy packs of these things, especially when they're on sale. For me, they work really well. Magnets, I love these things. I have them, you know, everywhere. But a lot of times they give them away for free, or they're going to be, you know, $1 or $2. $17.99 for this Braun light. Great light. I have a bunch of these, as well as the Icon lights. Again, sometimes you can get it for a little bit cheaper than that. I do see it drop down to $14.99 on occasion, but $17.99 is not a bad deal. The Yukons at $2.99, again, solid deal. They will drop down a little bit lower at some point. I got mine for about $2.79 a few months ago for the business, but again, if it's something that you need right now, not a bad deal at $2.99. Next up, the 56-inch US General right here, $7.89, $110 off. Again, it's an okay deal. They just had 20% off of US General. That's when I got my top cabinet right here. But the bottom cabinet, let me see if I can kind of go back just so you guys can take a look. This one I got just a little under a year ago when it was on sale for $5.99. So if you guys can wait, maybe it'll drop a little bit further than this. But again, $7.89 for the quality that you're getting, I think, is a decent deal. This is that Pittsburgh Jag I was talking about. They are very close. So I actually had both of them at the same time for a little while. And when I compared them side by side, there was very minimal difference outside of the color. You know, this one's a slate gray. The one I have now is a green, but even the slate gray was very nice. You know, it kind of matches with everything anyways. Daytona Jacks, those will, again, sometimes drop a little bit lower and maybe go to about $29.99. That's usually when I would pick those up. And then next up, we got some Quinn. This master set right here for the 428-piece set for $2.99. Solid deal. This one, when they're doing their socket sets for 40% off, sometimes this is included, sometimes it's not. When it's included, I think that's the best time to buy it. But if you're starting off, you want basically a little bit of everything, This is, I think, a great set. For $2.99, you get pretty much everything, and I'm going to kind of just show you guys real quick what is included in that set. So now, I haven't done a full review on this. Maybe at some point I will. But if you're looking at this top section right here of this 5-drawer cart, right? Every socket that you see here, this is all standard on this side. It's all metric on this side. We got 1/4 inch, we got 3/8, we got 1/2 inch. All of the extensions, all of the chrome handle ratchets, the comfort ones I added after. And then all of these, we have the spark plug sockets, we have all of the adapters, universals, things like that. All of those were included within that 428 piece set, including things like hex and metric and standard, Torx, and regular kind of Phillips and slotted, a little bit of everything. And then moving down, that's not even all that you're getting. Moving on down, we have this full screwdriver set that comes with it, with the exception of this guy. I did add that one later. They give you ratcheting wrenches, which is pretty awesome. Some nut drivers, some regular bits, some precision drivers, precision screwdrivers, I should say, and a bit driver right there. And then continuing down, actually, did I already go through this? Sorry, continuing down, you have your regular combination wrenches in metric and standard, a couple sets of Allen keys, and a adjustable wrench as well. So all that I just mentioned, so you basically I filled up the top section and the first 2 side drawers on this cart, all with just that one set. So you can kind of see pretty much everything outside of maybe a set of pliers is included, that you can kind of almost just start wrenching on things immediately. But speaking of Quinn, going on down here, I did add this to this cart to kind of continue on with the Quinn name. You got this set right here, that's kind of a master set of Torx and Torx and hex and e-Torx and things like that. But I did add these particular pliers to the set as well. I'm kind of going on a tangent here, and I apologize. That's not included in the sets, but something that you can add to get kind of a full set of tools for not a whole lot of money. And when you're really breaking it down, if you're spending $300 here and you buy the cart for $200, $500, you have a head start of basically building a new set. So continuing on here, we have this Icon stool. I just got this one fairly recently. It's kind of hiding right over here. It's pretty comfortable. It works really well. My only real complaint, let's go back to it, is kind of the way that this thing is, on there. It's kind of just a piece that just goes on. So it feels a little flimsy to me, but that could just be my opinion. But a lot of times, this thing will drop down to about $79, but $99 is not a horrible price to pay for it either. Again, everything in yellow down here is going to be kind of a typical sale that they're going to have. Liquidation sale for their clearance stuff and as is. Sometimes it's a good time to pick that up if they have anything left over. The rest of the stuff, I'm not really going to go over the generator stuff for trucks, things like that. I will go over the security bit set. One of my favorite sets of all time. I've done a video about this that basically shows that this is my most purchased Harbor Freight tool. I've bought this thing maybe, at this point, probably over 10 times, maybe a dozen times. For me, for friends, for the business, stuff like that. Not the highest quality set in the world. I mean, you're only paying $7 and getting 100 bits, but bunch of Phillips and posi drive in here. So in case you're breaking them, losing them, etc. All the different kinds of extensions and adapters you need up there. But then, all these different bits, whether it's Torx, security Torx, hex, security hex, all these different types in specialty fasteners, things like that. So it's great to have. I kind of just toss it in the go bag with a bit driver, and that any fastener you encounter, you're going to be able to tackle. Let's go on to the last page here. Again, top section is going to be your basic stuff. Although I will talk about this titanium drill bit set. Great little set, $12.99. This thing will drop sometimes to like $9.99. I think earlier it was like $10.99 or $11.99. I forget what it was a few weeks ago. But for this one, especially since it's a little over that 30% off, I think it's worth a mention. Let's kind of go over here to my drill bit drawer, and it just sits right kind of here. I have it here. I have it, a set in my car. I have another kind of backup set, and I have a bunch of these for work as well. And they're not the greatest drill bits in the world, but for the $10 or so that you're going to be paying for me, they're basically disposable, and they work really well, especially if you're just using them for wood, plastic, aluminum, things like that. Definitely not for steel, I wouldn't think. And then kind of going on down the line here, again, this stuff I'm not really going to speak too much about. I don't have any of these welders or these compressors anymore. Don't really use that stuff. And then again, down here is kind of more of the basic things that you're going to see. So let's just kind of flip this right back to the front and kind of end it where we started it. So again, if I had to have a takeaway from this particular flyer, really the two best deals are going to be front left over here. So you got the pick set for $10 and then the 40% off of Icon ratchets. I think that's going to be basically the first thing I'm going to run to. I mean, I'm probably going to be there Monday morning on the 24th and try to see if I can find myself. Actually, they're pictured right there. The long fixed head ratchets, non-flex head version of that. So, tell me, what do you guys think? What are you guys planning on picking up? What do you think of this sale? As I've said before, when I talk about their Black Friday sales, usually it's not the greatest sale they have every year, which is surprising because most other companies, that is one of the best sales they have every year. Usually a regular parking lot sale, Harbor Freight, is going to be where you're going to find some really good things. But again, this is where I'm going to be personally. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe.